Welcome to Module 5. In this module, we will transition to the linguistic description and phonetic transcription of longer phrases and sentences, or connected speech. Concepts introduced will include coarticulation, phonological processes that result in differences between words spoken in single word or citation form versus words spoken in connected speech, and suprasegmental aspects of speech, including word and sentence stress, intonation, and juncture. In Part 1, I will introduce the difference between connected speech and citation form and the term coarticulation, and I will overview connected speech processes. When words are produced by themselves, or one by one in a list, we say that they are produced in isolation. This pronunciation is called the citation form of the word. Typically, words are produced differently when they are spoken in citation form compared to when we say them in a sentence. When we say words in a sentence or in normal conversation, we say that they are produced in connected speech. In citation form, we typically say words more carefully than when we say them in connected speech. Usually, words spoken in citation form are longer in duration than words spoken in connected speech, and therefore the articulators can usually move all the way to their ideal articulatory positions for each phoneme in the word. When we say words more carefully, with more extreme or ideal articulatory positions for each phoneme, we say that the phonemes are hyper-articulated. The prefix hyper means over or extra, so you can think of the word hyper-articulated as meaning over-articulated or very carefully articulated. The opposite of the term hyper-articulated is the term hypo-articulated, which means under-articulated, so that the articulators do not achieve their ideal articulatory positions for each phoneme. I will talk more about these differences later in this module. When we say a word carefully in isolation, we produce the citation form of the word. Linguists consider the citation form of the word to be closer to its phonemic representation in the mind. In connected speech, phonological rules or processes operate that can change this basic or underlying form to the form actually spoken by the talker, called the surface form. For example, if I say the word every very carefully, I might say it as 3 syllables, every. But when I say it more quickly, I'm more likely to say it as 2 syllables, every. In that case, we might say that the underlying form of the word has 3 syllables, but that its surface form may only have 2 syllables. Another example might be the word entertain, in which most people don't say the first T, except in careful speech. In other words, they say entertain instead of entertain. Finally, a third example might be saying a sh sound instead of a s sound for the s in the word frustrate in normal speech, but using s in very careful speech, suggesting that the S phoneme is present in the underlying representation or basic shape of the word, even though it is rarely produced in normal pronunciation of the word. Listen, frustrate versus frustrate. Because phonological processes that change the word from its basic form are very common in connected speech, it becomes even more important to try to ignore spelling influences when transcribing words that are produced in connected speech. That is, sounds are deleted, changed, or sometimes even inserted in connected speech, but the spelling of the word and your mental representation of it will bias you towards transcribing it differently than it was really produced. Therefore, try to ignore the spelling as much as possible. Try to just focus on the sounds. Remember that if you are a speech-language pathologist, your clients will not produce words the way that you do, and your job is to identify differences between their pronunciation and the expected pronunciation. To do this correctly, you must be very sensitive to the way the sounds are actually produced by the client, and not the way the word is spelled or how you would say it. You must also be aware of connected speech processes to know what types of differences are typical of the speech of persons without speech or language differences or disorders, so that you can identify clinically relevant features. When we speak, our articulators cannot jump instantaneously between the position for one phoneme to the position for the next phoneme. Instead, the articulators move continuously from the position required for one phoneme to the position required for the next. For example, When I say the word ma, my lips are first pressed together and the velum is lowered for the production of the phoneme at the start of the word. Then I must lower my jaw and raise the velum for the production of the phoneme at the end of the word. Therefore, while the jaw is traveling from the higher to the lower position, and the velum is moving from the lowered to the raised position during the production of the word ma, the articulators spend some time between the target positions for each phoneme. So which phoneme is the talker saying during this transition period? Well, we could say that the transition contains information about both phonemes, or that the articulation of the two phonemes overlaps in time. This overlap in the articulation of neighboring phonemes is referred to as CoArticulation, with the co prefix indicating that portions of the neighboring phonemes overlap, or are produced simultaneously. Because the articulators must move continuously through space, coarticulation is present even in the citation form of words. However, as we begin to speak more rapidly and less carefully in connected speech, coarticulation increases, so that there are greater and more noticeable effects of coarticulation in connected speech than in citation form, and these effects increase with increasing speech rate. For example, from miss you to miss you to miss ya. As I said earlier, because the articulators must move continuously from one position to another, coarticulation is a universal feature of every language, and some features of coarticulation are present in every language. On the other hand, some coarticulatory processes are more common in some languages than in others, or may even be allowed in some languages and not others. Therefore, we say that some aspects of coarticulation are language specific. So, applying processes that are allowed in one's first language in a second language can be part of what makes a person be perceived as having a foreign accent. For example, deleting the th sound in the word sixth, as in the phrase sixth grade, is acceptable in English and connected speech, but this type of deletion of phonemes and consonant clusters located in the syllable coda might not be acceptable in another language. And even in English, these processes are rule-governed, so it's okay to delete the th sound in sixth, but it's less acceptable to delete the k sound, in other words, pronouncing the phrase as sixth grade. Also, some connected speech processes may be acceptable in some dialects of English, but not others. For example, replacing the T sound in butter with a glottal stop is acceptable in some dialects of British English, but not in American English. That is, in American English, you can say butter with a flap instead of the T, but not with a glottal stop, like this, butter, even though it's fine to use the glottal stop to replace T in some other contexts in American English. As I said earlier, hypoarticulation is the opposite of hyperarticulation and means that the articulators do not get all the way to the ideal articulatory positions for each phoneme in the word. Instead, they may undershoot the ideal position to a greater or lesser degree. Much of the time, the phoneme is not recognizably different when it is hypoarticulated because the articulators make it most of the way to their ideal position, and because listeners perceptually adjust for hypoarticulation to some extent. In other cases, however, hypoarticulation and coarticulation combine to produce phonemic changes, which should be transcribed in broad transcription. For example, as noted earlier in the production of the phrase miss you with a sh instead of a s sound. In the next section of this module, I will go over in detail some common connected speech processes that occur in English due to coarticulation and/or hypoarticulation. These connected speech processes are assimilation, elision, epenthesis, metathesis, and vowel reduction. You will need to learn to recognize the application of each of these processes in transcribed words or phrases and to derive the expected transcription resulting from the application of any of these processes. Your textbook and homework exercises will offer you opportunities for practice. This is the end of Part 1 of Module 5.